This is the Horse Radio Network. This is episode 420 of Horse Tip Daily, a different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you one day at a time. And today's tip is sponsored by the Horse Depot, custom and innovative products for both horse and rider at thehorsedepot.online.com. Well, howdy, everybody. Glenn the Geek back with you from Lexington, Kentucky, and welcome back to Horse Tip Daily. Well, it's getting to be springtime, and we thought we would do a special 5-part series here on Horse Tip Daily, where we take a look back at some of the best tips that we've had for springtime. And now that we have over 420 different tips, we thought we would take a look back to the early days of Horse Tip Daily and find what we thought were some of the best and a kind of a wide variety of tips that apply to springtime and things you should be careful of or look out for, or helpful hints. So we picked out 5 of those, and we're going to be bringing them to you over the next 5 days. Now, I know we have some very loyal listeners that have listened to every one of the Horse Tip Dailies. A couple of these will be repeats for you if you have listened back to day 1. However, you'll probably have forgotten them by now, and they'll be worth taking a listen to again. And they're all from different experts and provide you a variety here. And I know a lot of you have not listened since day 1, so they'll be new for you. Either way, we hope you take a listen and enjoy. And this tip today was taken off of episode number 12, way back to the very beginning. This tip is by Fran, Jurga, and Fran is one of the leading experts on hoof care. She writes a blog, and it is actually covered hoof care and all things farrier and hoof for many, many years. And we follow her blog, and we hope that you do too, and we'll give you that information here in a little bit. But first, have you been thinking about some custom products for you or your horse? Maybe show off those unique barn colors? Then the Horse Depot is the place for you at thehorsedepot.online.com. From custom apparel to sheets to saddle pads to equine bags, they have the top names in custom that you want, including Blue Ribbon, Jax, Fenwick, and Tally-Ho, and more. Get the cut, colors, and features you want for those spring sheets, or protect your saddles, bridles, and show clothes with custom equestrian bags made in the colors of your choice. And don't forget the finest in customer service from thehorsedepot.online.com. That's thehorsedepot.online.com for all of your custom needs. Well, let's take a listen back to Fran Jurga from episode number 12. Well, hi, Fran. Welcome to Horse Tip Daily. We appreciate you being on the show.
Well, hi, Glenn. It's great to be on.
You know, I've been following your work for years, and we finally get to talk and meet, and I'm just so glad that we have a venue. You're really specialized. How did you ever get so specialized in one area of the horse's hoof?
I think you could call it a bit of a calling, Glenn. I was very
hoof
interested.
Gods came down and said, Fran, you're going to do
We need you. This is your mission in life. But really and truly, I was very interested in lameness problems in horses, and I just found that there was a real need for more information on the hoof itself. And I was very fortunate to run into some fantastic farriers in my work, and I said, gee, no one knows of all the work that's going on in the farrier field and the vet field, where there are these emerging specialties, and this is going to turn into something. And I was probably 10 years ahead of myself, but it's been really, really rewarding to see that even someone like you, Glenn, who 10 years ago would say, oh gosh, we don't need anything about hooves on our radio show.
Right.
Now, all of a sudden, people are saying, you know, Fran, you're really onto something with this hoof stuff. You know, this is a really important part of horse care.
Well,
and
you
it's
really have taken the horse public dragging and screaming along.
I know. It has had to evolve. And, you know, I have to say that it's very, very rewarding to see that people are finally starting to understand how important their horses' feet are and really take better care of them. It's a wonderful thing.
Well, is it safe to say that probably, well, I know it's safe to say, I've owned a lot of horses, that it's one of the most expensive parts of the horse on an ongoing basis? It's the one you spend a lot of money on every 6 weeks.
that is true, but I also would say that it's a very good investment, and spending that money every 6 weeks is hopefully going to be insurance against having to spend an awful lot more money should something go wrong. And I believe that preventative maintenance on a horse's feet is the best investment that a horse owner can make.
Well, great. Now, you were a journalist before you became a hoof expert?
I have both careers simultaneously, but Glenn, I have to correct you. I would never call myself a hoof expert.
So
never
what would you call you, a hoof specialist?
I know a lot of hoof experts, and I've been very fortunate to work with them, and sort of took it upon myself to kind of spread the word about new developments in the field. I would by no means call myself an expert ever.
We'll call you a hoof journalist.
Right, a hoof journalist.
Okay. We need to come up with a more clever name for that, I think.
I know. I'll work on that one.
All right. So what do you have for us today?
Well, I'm really interested in talking to you definitely about the prevention side of hoof care. And I'm sure that this is something that will be relevant to all your listeners. And I am convinced that this is where we should be putting our energy and our expertise is, number one, studying what is a good hoof, learning to recognize it, and making that a goal. And maybe it might not be a goal that you can accomplish overnight, but having people understand what they're working toward and what their horse's feet could optimally do for their horse, and equating what a good, sound, healthy foot looks like to your eye. And I have some little tips that I'd like to share with people that I think might be helpful to them. And
great. We'll have you do one today, and then what we'll do is we'll just have you come back on the show again, if you will, and we'll parse them out so that people can learn more about this. You know, I think I think with horses' feet, you trust your farrier. And then, a lot of people discovered that they can't really trust their farrier because sometimes it's not good. And at that point, out of necessity, they figure they have to start learning more. And it's too bad it waits till that point in many cases.
It does wait very much too long. And I really feel that a lot of the problems that we're having with our horses can be traced back to the early years of a horse's life, and either problems that developed then or that were ignored then because so many young horses are prepared for sale rather than to be kept by the owner, and these problems get passed along down the line. And I would start with just the problem that we're having right now with moisture, and how people could understand a little bit about the effects of an incredibly rainy season like so many parts of the country had this past spring.
Right.
This is going to be affecting your horse's feet for the rest of the summer. And I believe that if you can just come to grips with that and accept it, you'll be prepared for the inevitable that may happen. Now, this may be recognizable by the hoof wall becoming sort of soft and spongy, or the horse, if the horse is shod, may lose a shoe, or the shoes may become loose. And people need to be aware that this could happen and what to do if it does happen.
All right.
I would advise people to, if you possibly can, take some pictures of your horse's feet and just try to take in as many points of your horse's feet as you can before the changes start. Some of the changes that you might see, especially if your horse's pasterns are clipped, you may see that the right along the hairline, it gets sort of, looks almost like there's a little transparent worm around the top of the hairline. Mm-hmm. It gets kind of swollen up. That is your horse's natural reaction to the moisture. And if a horse is healthy and metabolism is working correctly, usually horses can compensate for a really rainy season or a rapid change in environment, whether it's wet to dry or dry to wet. As we all know, a lot of our horses are under stress, Glenn, and that can affect a horse's ability to adapt, as can even things like going from a really dry stall, with your beautiful fluffy shavings, out into a wet paddock. These are things that we'll see changes, in one horse, and the horse in the next stall shows no changes at all. It's a very individualistic thing, but people need to be aware of it. In many parts of the country, I believe that this summer, as it was back in 2006, we had a similar very, very wet season with lots of flooding. And in that year, I can remember a lot of pastures were flooded, and it changed some of the ways that the grass grew, and some, just environmental changes come in many different forms, and it shows up on a horse's feet. Some horses will get some kind of a skin fungus or whatever, but the feet are just amazing at being able to tell you what's going on in the rest of the horse's body.
So the telltale signs we look for are
you may notice that the foot maybe spreads out over the shoe a little bit more, or just when you press on the hoof wall, it seems like it's not as rigid as it normally would be. And you may see an increase in some kinds of mild fungal problems. It's not unusual to see more thrush. In a worst case scenario, there's another disease called canker that seems to be reported more often in years when there's really a lot of moisture. So it's just something to keep in mind, and stay on top of it with your horse, and work with your farrier, work with your vet, and any signs of fungus or anything that's really different, I would try to nip it in the bud as soon as possible.
So take those pictures when the horse is healthy.
Right.
So you have a reference point. Basically,
Absolutely.
You have your ground zero there. Yeah.
And just handling your horse's feet more often. We find that people. I try to tell people, just close your eyes. When if it's safe, don't take any chances with your horse. But try picking your horse's feet up and just hold them in your hands with your eyes closed, and learn what it feels like. Learn to see your horse's feet through your hands, and what it feels like. Don't just depend on your eyes, but also what it feels like. What does that frog feel like? How spongy is it? How soft is it? How hard is it? Just learn to feel what's normal.
Right, and then that'll give you the reference point for what's abnormal at that point.
Hopefully you would recognize that. And I think this is an especially important thing to do with young horses, because if their problems are not taken care of, I believe it can have developmental problems later in life. And just want to make sure that anything with a young horse is taken care of. And they need their feet handled a lot. And I know it's not always easy to do.
It's not always the most fun thing.
But it's part of the deal. You have to you have to train them, and you have to get them used to having you handle their feet regularly.
All right. Well, I think there were about 4 or 5 tips, actually, in that segment. But where can people find out more about the Hoof and what your work is?
My work is readily available. I have both a website, which is www.hoofcare.com, and either from there or directly you can go to a daily blog that I publish. The blog is called Fran Jurga's Hoof Blog, and it's at hoofcare.blogspot.com. And that's where you'll find all kinds of links and articles and everything sort of under the sun that's related to the hoof. And there are believe it or not, we're about to have our 5th anniversary in September. So there are 5 years of articles there that people can go back and see a lot of video, a lot of photography, and a lot of resources for almost any hoof problem that you can imagine. And if it's not there, send me an email and I will try to help you.
All right, great, Fran, and I know you do good work. I've been on your site for a long time, and there is a pile of stuff there, and you can find the reference point really is hoofcare.com, and we will have all the links on our website at horsetipdaily.com. We have a page for each of the we're calling them experts. A page for each of the experts, and you can find all of Fran's links right there on our site as well. Well, Fran, will you come back?
I would love to, Glenn. You know, I could talk about this stuff all day.
And you do.
As a matter of fact. But I'm not
Fran.
an expert, Glenn. Don't you be calling me an expert.
All right, I'll change your page.
Thank you.
All right, Fran, we'll talk to you soon. Well, we hope you enjoyed and got something out of this revisit to the moisture and the hoof in the springtime with Fran Jurga. We hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget that you can find all of our shows at horseradionetwork.com and listen to the morning show live every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern on Horses in the Morning, or you can catch the replay immediately after. Well, that's it, everybody. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. We'll have this part 2 in this continuing spring series. And wear your helmet.
The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.